to Religiously Incorrect. We are back again, Sunday night service, brought to you by High Street Fitness and Mike Phillips. I had to look at it. High Street Fitness and Mike Phillips ready to get it in. He is ready to get y'all. Y'all already know what time it is. Some of y'all out here like me, you know, I got the bubble gup. I call myself fat and fit with faith and something like that.
You made that up.
So yeah, hey, you know, but listen, y'all go down there, check him out in Cortland, Ohio.
High Street in Cortland, Ohio.
High Street in Cortland, Ohio. Go out there and check Mike Phillips up. What's happening, Todd?
What's happening, Pastor Jeff, man?
Man, we are ready to get it in Sunday night service.
Yes, y'all tap in, like, share, tag somebody, harass somebody. Make sure you put something in the comments. See what's happening out there, man. What's happening in the world?
Put some of those hate emojis.
Yeah, hate us, man. You know what I mean? Hey, I mean, say something ignorant so I can talk about you. I mean, I'm feeling froggy tonight. You know what I mean? Been in church all day. 2 services and a fundraiser in one day.
Wow.
You know, it felt like old school. Like, you remember all day church?
I love that.
You only get a chance to get a bite to eat. You got a 30-minute nap. You got to get back up and pretend like you ain't tired at the next service. Like,
absolutely.
You know, it was good though. We were at Grace AME Church.
Grace. Pastor Shane Floyd.
Doctor.
From the Yo.
Right.
The Yo,
another
my
one
boy.
of Jeff's henchmen. Another one of Jeff's goons. Nah, wonderful, warm. They're like family, man. It was great. You know, ain't nothing wrong with a little afternoon service once in a while. That's a big part of the culture's problem, man. We got rid of afternoon services. We got rid of afternoon services.
That's why families is breaking up.
That's why kids is running wild, man. These kids on dope. You know what I mean?
That's
you ain't got time to do drugs if you're at afternoon service.
That's why all the homosexuality is going on, because there's no afternoon services.
The old picture be like men's with men's, women's with women's.
That's why Trump got in, because we got no afternoon services.
Y'all got off afternoon services. Y'all need to bring it back. True, get back on the altar. But it was all good, man. But yo, we gotta recap, man. We gotta do a redux here, man. Like, what's up with your man Jaw?
Man, you know we've talked about him, man.
What's up with Jaw?
It's crazy.
How many guns this cat have? That's what I want to know. His brother like Rambo. Every time you turn around, I mean,
I say it. I've said it to a couple people as we work in the mill, so this is our daily, in the mill, But this guy is, first of all, the first time, how much did he lose? 600,000 or something like that.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But the fact of the matter is, he lost a lot more than that, because he lost his vote into the, to the players thing.
Right.
He would have been in the All-Star game and all that stuff. He lost that vote, so he lost that money. Now he lost his Nike shoe.
Right.
How do you lose a shoe? Nike don't sponsor everybody.
Right.
Nike just don't sponsor everybody.
It is not easy to get that kind of level of sponsorship, and for us to be in that space, for us to be in that place right now where he's at, it bears to mind, like, where is this brother's village at? Where is and why do you even need a village to do that?
Well, that's my point is, everybody keeps on blaming his friend who was in the first video and the same friend in the second video. Some people keep on blaming his parents. My thing, it's Ja's fault. You are the one with the career. You are when all this is said and done.
Correct.
When it goes back in time, they're not gonna say it was your coach. They're not gonna say it was your father. They're not gonna say it was your friend. They was gonna say
it's you.
Ja is the one who made the biggest. Who had the biggest.
Well, I mean, he's the dude with the contract. He's the player. I mean, you can talk about influences all you want, but at the end of the day, there's only one person at work here. One person making the checks.
Absolutely.
One person whose talent got him there. And I'm just sorry, but I do have, and I think a brother made a comment like, man, what kind of suspect friends you got always putting you on live when they get around you when you're doing dumb stuff?
Absolutely.
Like, what kind of friends you got always exposing your worst moments, or they know or should know that that's foolish behavior for someone of your caliber?
Kids. I'm not sure if he's married or not, but he does have kids. This is a legacy.
Nah, this brother ain't married. Nah.
He's
not
young,
with that
though.
arsenal.
He's young.
Yeah.
He's young. So what does young have to do with it?
I
Talk to
mean,
me.
he's not going to thank the way he should be thinking if he was a little bit older. He's only, 22, 23 years old?
Right.
He just came into all this money. He's going to make dumb decisions.
But every NBA player makes some dumb. Allen Iverson made some dumb decisions.
He did.
Kobe made one big dumb decision.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're talking about literally the same mistake 6 months later. Was it even 6 months?
Yeah, it hasn't even been 6 months. Yeah.
The same stupid mistake. And the commissioner said this could be it.
Right.
They have luckily he has this whole summer off.
Right.
And they get to think about it. They get to win. And hopefully that will give them some leeway. But I mean, this could be that brother's career.
Yeah, I mean, and what about the argument that gun laws are changing everywhere? People are saying that you should be able to have a gun. In some of these states, you can just have a gun. And so it's not technically illegal as a citizen.
Right.
So, I mean, some people are saying, well, that's a dumb argument. Maybe you think that's a dumb argument. Is it just because of his position? I mean, I don't know what the NBA rules are concerning guns. Does the NBA have it in the rules that you cannot display a gun?
You cannot. It is, I can't remember the name of it, but there is a code.
Gotcha. It's like a code of conduct,
yeah, code
kind
of
of
conduct
a character
that you
clause.
have to keep.
I got you.
And it's not
Morality clause.
Morality clause, right?
Right.
And you are part of a brand.
That is true.
You are not yourself. You literally don't. It's almost
They
like
do own you,
right?
I mean, you're under contract.
Right.
That's why it's
literally
called a
like
contract.
when I signed up for the Navy. You are not your own anymore.
Absolutely.
You sign that. You know what I mean?
You catch me doing that, man. No sirree.
You literally have to watch everything you do, and I think my wife is watching now. My wife said something like, he ought to be like Barkley and say, "I'm not a role model." That don't work no more. I think Barkley was the last person who could make that.
Yeah,
statement.
and that's funny because somebody made a judgment about Barkley criticizing him because they're like, this cat threw somebody through a plate glass window, and he did. I remember all that stuff. But again, we live in a wildly different world, and we're all wrestling with. Okay, so that's the thing, though. We live in a wildly different world that Barkley lived through, knowing the old and the new.
Right.
Ja has never known anything but this world. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes this disappointing. Right. Those of us who are old, there are things that we're struggling to live with. And let's just be honest, there's all kind of stuff, transgender stuff, consent stuff, what's appropriate, getting canceled. That's all new to us that's been around for a minute. These young kids that's in their early 20s, that's it for them. Yep. And this super sensitivity has been their entire life. So not to mention the classes and the mentorship and the warnings that these leagues do now. I mean, their orientations are so in-depth about weapons, drugs, females, friends, investors, all this kind of stuff, even how to handle autographs and memorabilia and don't let your stuff get put on eBay. I mean, they're telling you everything. They did not just, and that's what I want to say to people who say, they be taking these cats out the hood, they be throwing them out there and making music. No, they be taking these dudes through a gamut. Like a whole doggone 9-week course on how to be a professional athlete in the NBA, and they are making the choices. To do this.
It's still a mindset. Classes aren't going to just change your mindset in 9 weeks.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work like that. So.
But, I mean, right now there's a 22, 23-year-old right now, Adam McDonald's that couldn't hack it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you are given a prime opportunity.
Well, what I don't want to see, because of how good he is, because of how much the NBA needs him, and that's one of the problems. He feels like the NBA needs me. Mm-hmm. But one of the problems is I don't want to see him end up like, Kwame, what's his name?
Kwame Brown.
Yeah, I mean, he's just on social media in his little apartment.
Right.
I mean, the guy came out of high school.
Right.
All these contracts, everything. And now, he's just trying to make, and he literally made a video saying, you're about to lose it all.
Right.
I really want to put
somebody wrote that before my party. You about to lose your job.
About to lose your job.
Well, hey, all I'm going to say is the way LeBron is playing, I think they do need Ja Morant, the NBA. Because LBJ.
Some people said they're going to come back.
Who's going to come back?
Man, ain't no way.
Who said that? Lazarus? Who said that?
You know why they saying that?
Jesus Christ?
On Facebook, it's always a couple of trolls on Facebook.
Easter is over.
People want to see the LA Lakers and Celtics, that rivalry, it ain't gonna happen
Not this year.
Doc. It ain't gonna happen.
Not this year. They bring back Larry Bird and James Worthy. Maybe it'll happen. Well, if you guys have noticed, go ahead, Big Mike. I'm sorry.
What's wrong with LeBron though? Everybody expect him to take over the second half or the fourth quarter, and he ain't been able to do that.
I think he put all his energy in the Warriors.
That was I was gonna say. They filled up their tank for the Warriors. Now they out of gas.
Not out of gas.
This dude is 1 for 31 in the fourth quarter with 3-pointers.
That is true.
Stop shooting threes.
He's 38 years old, which is like 120 in NBA years.
You are a massive dude. Take it to the hole. Do those.
Maybe he ain't got it.
You better get something.
Yeah, you better get something, man. I mean, hey, but I do believe with one of the memes I saw that said that we are all judging LeBron off his last year or two when most dudes are in their twilight.
Absolutely.
But then again, he also set that expectation too. Mm-hmm. He's saying, I'm dominant, I'm this, I'm that, so, I mean, I'm not as interested because it's already looking uncompetitive.
Right.
So, and I didn't even know who this Denver Cats was. I don't even know who this Joker dude is. I haven't been following it like that. Jokic is nice, but I'm just saying.
Nice.
I mean, he just literally came out of Serbia, wherever he came from. Was he in the war? Did he like a refugee? Did he run from Ukraine or something? Like, where is he from?
He fought Captain America in Civil War.
He was with the Red Claw, whatever his name is.
Thanos boy.
Right. Red Skull. Yeah, man. He looked like one of them villains from a movie, like one of the Joker's henchmen, So I'm just not that terribly interested, but I will say that not just Ja, but all these young athletes, man, I wish them the very best. We've seen locally what happens.
Right.
With our man Maurice.
Yeah.
When a prime opportunity is lost, it's not that you can't be redeemed, man, but you can never stop thinking about what could have been.
Absolutely.
When you look at that. So and the worst thing is, it's like a public train wreck.
Maurice, I've been trying to get you on this show for 3 years.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you on this show.
Don't act like you don't hear us. I know you watching.
He don't watch us, man. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for Meme of the Week.
Meme of the Week. Meme of the Week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the Week. Meme of the
Week. Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
These are all jokes. We are just playing.
Pastor Tatum, what's happening? Callians, hope you all guys are all well. Elder Carter, make sure you like, share, tag somebody. We're going back to a video meme of the week. Video meme of the week. We did a picture last week, but this one's a video. And this is a new trend, Pastor Jeff, in a lot of our modern churches. And I think this is about where this trend is going. Somebody hit the video. Hit it, Big Mike.
Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Come on, let it be your prayer. Spirit.
All right, this is about where this is going. Now, I had my first experience preaching down in New Salem with the roaming camera, and it's just a guy with a camera. No, I've had my second in New York. It's just a guy with a camera just walking around looking for angles, and after a while, I got used to it real quick, but I don't know. I am conflicted about this. I mean, all in her worship grill.
Well, I was watching a video with, I hate to use the word Prophet Karn, where he was saying,
just put
the video on her.
Oh, man.
Put the camera on her.
Played.
Yeah, put the camera.
He
and I'm like,
yelled at the cameraman.
Yeah, put the camera on.
He stopped singing and be like, I said her.
I'm like, well, are you serious?
While she was shouting and stuff.
Yeah, because he want.
I don't
he
call
said,
him Prophet Karn. His name is Brian.
Right. Took the title away.
He can't have the title. It's Brian. Nah, you had too many kids out of wedlock to have a title. That doggone Oceans. Yes, it has to be done to Oceans.
Yes.
It has to be done to Oceans. But no, I mean, the idea of cameras roaming around, I like the idea of showing the church in worship. I struggle, Pastor Jeff, with this new, I think it's a part of the exhibitionism that has become so common to our modern worship spaces. It feels like emotional manipulation and exploitation of the person, and then what it would do to other people who witness that person.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm glad that for the most part, we're not one of those churches where people pull their phones out real quick as soon as people start praising God. If anybody, you know, goes in or whatever, I, from the very beginning, was like, what possesses people as soon as the Holy Ghost falls to pull out their phones and start recording each other dancing and
Why aren't you going in?
How? Right.
How's everybody in the church going in, but you got time to take pictures?
Well, now it's like half and half. It's like they take turns. Like, all right, you shout first. All right, get it in. Get it in.
It's really ridiculous. And what cracks me up is people are like, you know, they post the stuff of people worshiping, and then they're like, I had such a great time worshiping. When?
Win.
Right.
Yeah, what are you doing? Exactly.
You got 30, 40 pictures posted from the service. The service was an hour. How did you have
Right.
time to take that many
Exactly.
pictures?
Right. Mike?
Well, with me, running the camera is a second now. I want to get more. I don't want to use the word action, but I want to get more of the crowd. You know, more angles, more shots, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm kind of weary because I don't want to be a distraction.
Right.
I don't want to be in the way.
And we're not accustomed to it yet. There are some churches
Right.
where it's fully expected. And I wonder, like, are there people who won't go to churches because they overly use cameras and media?
Absolutely.
I would, if it,
And then you got the other people, excuse me, you got the other people
I love that you're the one with the juice now. I
who
love it.
absolutely will practice
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
dance
Yes.
so
Yeah.
so they can look right on the camera.
Check my footwork, Doc.
me personally, if it's a church and they use cameras like that, I would not go back. If I visited and it was like that, I would not go back.
I've been
At all.
self-conscious, even at some churches that, you know, I know, my bishop or people where, like, at any given time you could pop up on screen or on their live, or like you're just self-conscious about it. Like you be peeking up at it, like
Right,
am I popping
right.
up, am I, you know.
You feel like you at the Cleveland Browns game when they put you on the the
Right, on the
kiss cam,
jumbotron.
the
Right. Supposed to
jumbotron.
kiss the church mother next to me right now? That's what I'm supposed to do? What in the world?
You better not kiss Mary Marshall.
Right. Mac is still packing. But that's a part of the, again, I feel like it's being like forced a little bit.
Absolutely. I hear you,
What?
Sister Janice.
Those are the ones I'm talking about. Yeah. To me, that's not when it's real. I just feel like there is a line you cannot cross or you shouldn't cross. Now, to be honest, like I was just watching a documentary on Hillsong, and having the footage was helpful, like educationally, like later on. But it's always like, it's only helpful if something goes wrong in the church. Like if something goes terribly wrong with the church, and now you got all these clips of Jim Jones before they went to Guyana, and you're like, this is what they was doing. I'm like, that's like the only time that's really helpful to be like, what kind of atmosphere was going on? But I do feel like it's a forced reality now where people, this sounds like everything else people are saying, whether it's LED walls, whether it's the arguments we've had about production and, you know, certain levels of, you know, the way we do staging and all. I feel like it's another thing where the sentiment is you've got to do this to be considered an elite ministry, so that the production, the this, the that. But I'm like, but you are making congregants unwitting and unwilling actors and actresses in your production, which is why you're not, I don't think, you know, I know the word is there, but I think there should be a fine line with that word production,
Right,
when it comes to the worship experience, because you might very well go from the sanctuary to the theater without realizing it. And now you've made the congregation an audience, and then you turn the audience into actors. Like, that's the progression to me. You went from being a congregation of participation to an audience of just enjoy whatever. So now you're an unwilling active participant because you're going to end up on this camera, and you better go in so we can get good footage.
Now, personally, you know me.
Right.
I was at Agape with you for I love to dance. I will get my I've never saw myself dance.
I've seen you dance.
I know you've seen. I've seen you dance too.
It's a river dance.
I've seen you dance.
Jeff has a river dance.
And you have the what's that? The running man.
The running man. I have the running man. I got the MC Hammer. Go Hammer, go. Oh, don't do that, Tatum. Don't do that, Tatum.
What'd she say?
The reels with the pastors getting ready walking. Mine is the one they pull up in the truck and get out the truck outside the church. And they sit in the, and they magically have a mic on so they can talk to the camera. Yeah. We have to be careful. I'm just cautious. I'm just cautious. But I'm not saying, and before y'all call me hypocrite, I'm not saying I'll never end up in a video like that, like, the intro video or whatever. But I'm just cautious about the image we are portraying. And again, watching this documentary I've been watching about this mega church that had this big failure, it had all those notes. And so the crazy thing is, we're watching a lot of churches over the years have the exact same issues, yet still many of our churches trying to project the same image as those churches with the issues, as if you're going to be different.
Well, what really gets me, Pastor Tatum, is when they pull up in these cars, they got the Lexus truck, and they get out and they walk through these hallways, and you go into a room with 13
people. 13 people.
13.
6 of them are armor bearers, and the other 3 are your children. That's why you're talking about the man and woman of God. That's why you're coughing. But you're right, man. You're right. But somebody's got to do it. So Mike, just get ready to crawl underneath some pews, man, and get some. That's too close to like an upskirt shot, though. I mean, pretty soon you're gonna be,
Lawsuit.
Yeah, right, lawsuit.
Yeah, we're not trying to get sued.
We ain't trying to get sued, man. But, pretty soon churches are going to have like a no camera section.
Yeah.
Like if you sit over here, you're guaranteed to not be on camera.
I feel like the people who go in the camera section are going to be the actress and actors.
They already exist. These are the people that used to jump out in the aisle just to shout, like run to the front.
Do you remember in church, they used to say this the praise section?
Oh, it's the praise section.
That's the praise section.
That sounded something Jeff used to say. This is the praise section over here. I love it. Well, we want to thank our sponsors, Phillips Care family of businesses, always coming through for us. Phillips Care Lawn Services. We're well into the spring and summer. You need to get your lawn taken care of. You don't want to get reported to the city health department. So I don't want to hear about it. So come on in, call 330-219-7916. Hit my man Fernando up. They'll take care of all your lawn needs, not just cutting, but any service related to the outdoors around your house. I'm sure they can take care of it. I don't think they do like animal removal, though. They ain't going to touch no raccoons, nothing like that. But while you're at it, get your house clean. I've told you, it's been 2 weeks in a row. Your house is filthy. Your family's trifling. Call Phillips Care. Call Phillips Care Cleaning Service. Let them take care of it before we call Children's Services on your tail. They service Trumbull, Mahoning, surrounding areas. Look up Phillips Care LLC on Facebook, and we thank them once again for being our sponsors. Well, you guys have probably seen this nice young lady who's been sitting here talking with us, and we did not even politely give her an introduction.
I was going to ask at the beginning, should we introduce?
No, we just like random women to show up in our podcast now and just start talking. That's basically what we're doing.
We usually don't introduce them till now.
Yeah, but now we just got people sitting at tables like they always been here. She just like crawled through the window right before we went live, and we just said went with it. So what we have with us is a wonderful, active young lady, a part of that. What generation are you a part of now? What are y'all? Generation? Are you a millennial?
Depending on what website page you look at.
Depends on what website. Okay, well, you're going to be a millennial. Okay. Today, Moriah McCorkle is our guest today. And she is the founder of her own nonprofit, One, which stands for, I forgot already.
Ongoing Neighborhood Empowerment.
Ongoing Neighborhood Empowerment. She's also involved with several nonprofit and community-based organizations here in the Mahoning Valley. She's a proud member of Second Baptist Church, by the way. Whoop, whoop. You haven't earned your hoodie yet.
I don't know. What is that about?
You got to be like a straight year tither to get these. And then you join the Gold Circle Club.
Look, kind of if I was tithing before I joined.
You got to join the Gold Circle Club. Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm saying that's.
I'm joking. But no, we're really great to have her. Everybody give it up for Moriah McCorkle. So glad to have you. And today's subject, Pastor Jeff, Moriah, is called The Young and the Restless.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, you are definitely not the Victor Newman or
No. This is the new generation.
This is the new generation, and we are so proud of you. First of all,
Very.
of all you've done.
Very.
And although she is a proud member of Second Baptist, she is also a very vital part of Action.
She is.
And she came in super strong. And I think that's really
Kicking down doors.
really what, with like I was like, wow, that's what we love. That's what we love about, whether it's anybody, whether it's somebody at a church, whether it's somebody in an organization, somebody who just comes in and they don't ask a whole lot of questions like, what do you need me to do? No, she just jumped in and began doing.
That is the pit of nothingness question. What do you need me to do? Or I'm here for whatever you need.
Right.
It's like, that's the pit of nothing. I like people that just like, oh, you carrying that box? I'm going to get the next one.
Yeah, there it is.
That's when you're in the right
And that's what she does. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Moriah, very succinctly. Just tell us a little. And how did you get started at such a young age at just doing this type of community work?
So I got started a few years back, and what really got me started was just seeing how this community definitely there's a lot of people who needs help, a lot of people who needs empowerment. The children need a lot of help, and that's kind of just like my driving passion behind it, and that's kind of what really just drove me to this point.
Awesome. So you are a part of the, I can't ever, TCCCC. How many C's?
It's Trumbull County African American Achievers
TCAAAAAA.
Oh, it's A's. I got the A's and C's mixed up.
It's like 7 A's.
And that's coming up, correct?
Yes. In 2 weeks is June.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Talk to us about it.
So the festival, the African American Achievers Festival, it's been going on. I think this is the 37th annual
Yeah,
festival.
we're on 38th. Yeah.
Is it 38?
Yeah, we're on our way.
Okay.
Old in the mug.
So it's been going on for that many years. We have the 3 days. We got a lot going on this year. At the EMP, we have EU coming.
Who?
EU.
Doing the butt?
I didn't want to say it like
Listen,
that.
I saw the post.
What?
I saw the post.
You don't tell me it ain't coming.
Listen, who is responsible for that post? Who's responsible for that? The one that said, we're going to be doing the butt, y'all.
I don't know
I
nothing
said,
about
I
it.
can't believe
I woke
it.
up this morning. Thought on nothing.
But what else we going to do after that? Doing the butt. This is
That's
CJ's
all we had
favorite
to
song.
say.
Ain't
Are there any other songs?
ain't nothing wrong. No.
Right.
No, they do.
No, I was told they have like quite a few major hits. I don't know of them, but that's what I was told.
Awesome.
Oh, geez, no. Mike probably know. He had the whole...
That's that go-go, baby.
That go-go hit, yeah. So we got EU coming, and what else is popping?
We have spoken word added this year.
Okay.
We have the parade, of course, at 11 a.m., which we expect that to be pretty big.
Glenn knows some songs. She ain't saved, Minister Glenn. You about to expose all the saints. Go on ahead.
We got some new food trucks coming, and really exciting this year is we have a lot more local vendors because we offer the 1 day instead of having to come down on 3 days.
Right, that's awesome.
That sounds like an idea a young person came up with. Am I right?
Yeah,
I'm just saying. It sounds like an idea.
It was a group effort.
It was a group effort?
It was a group effort.
Okay. I'm going to
Now,
take it.
Todd, you used to be in it every year, man. It was just phenomenal. With
I had the youth choir. Yeah.
Banging,
Yeah,
banging.
and then we fell apart like New Kids on the Block. I mean, it was like Menudo. I love doing the fest, and I've always been excited. Our boy is in it.
Who?
Mr. Romance.
Oh, he sure is.
He's got a
Mr.
slot.
Love.
Mr. Love. Caleb, Mr. Romance. The romantic truth. And he's opening for EU.
Yes.
Don't put Mr. Romance for doing the butt, man. That's like a fatal combination.
Hey, remember he was in my play? He's like, how should I get my hair done? Should I get a perm? Angels gotta look good.
Do angels have relaxers? Man, my man.
Ask you something. As long as I can remember, and I've been in Warren, I think about 22 years. Every year somebody says we ought to change the date because every year. No, last year it didn't rain.
It didn't rain. That was a miracle.
Last year was the first year I can remember that
That's the Second Baptist was down there. We had a display. That's the way it goes.
The anointing was there.
The anointing was there.
Have you guys got these complaints?
We've heard it, but it's like, why change it? It's no guarantee that if we move it back a couple weeks, it's not going to rain. That's very unpredictable. People just always want to complain. Get an umbrella and come down to the festival.
Right. You heard her.
That's it. You're absolutely right. And I want to talk to the bigger issue, and that is you are probably likely the youngest part of the committee by far.
Yes.
And that is standard for just about all of our nonprofit organizations and sort of community service organizations, that you and people your age would represent a far, far younger subset. Truth be told, I would represent a far, far younger set than most. So that's why we call this Young and the Restless, because I have now been along long enough to watch multiple attempts, if you would, at young infiltration and involvement with these legacy organizations. And it always seems to come up to what I hear. They don't want to hear our ideas, refusal to change, stuck in their ways. And for those of us who are pastors, we're like, whoop, sounds like church.
Right.
Sounds like what church can be sometimes. And that's been kind of the knock, for better or for worse, fair or not. That's sort of one of the knocks of any traditional longstanding organization, is that it kind of gets trapped in time and there's no room for new ideas. Can you talk about that dynamic, and not so much the experience of, they shut me down on this, but just in general, what barriers exist in that frame for young adults when they want to get involved?
So it's actually like a two-sided thing. So you do have that these people in these groups, they don't necessarily want to be open to anything. One of the biggest things is they feel that we're going to come in and we're going to leave, which they see that a lot.
That is true.
However, on the other side, we leave because it's like, I'm sitting here and I'm giving you this ideal, and I work in the community. I work with people in my generation. I know what would bring people out. So it's like, you should listen. So it's like you get pushed out, and then they don't trust you're going to stay, so they don't want to listen. So it's like, it's kind of almost a lose-lose.
It's a cycle. Yeah, no, I get you.
At some point, I feel like me being there going on, this will be my going on third year.
Okay.
They are actually starting to warm up, and not just the Achievers. I'm in a couple other groups. They're starting to warm up because I'm weathering the storm. I'm like, they're not going to listen, And once I stayed through that, now they're like, okay, she's consistent. So now they're starting to open up to some of the ideals a little bit more.
Right. Wow. I mean, and that's wisdom, because that's a dynamic I discovered becoming the pastor at Second, and I began to explain and sort of defend that to a point as a pastor, even to younger generations, to say, look, you're looking at a generation that built this, sacrificed, blood, sweat, and tears. We come and go. And especially in our generation, we are very transient. We have far more opportunities to just kind of move around at a whim, and we do.
Right.
And so, like you said, why implement all this stuff and then leave somebody else holding the bag or in an inconsistent place where they could have just done what they were used to doing? Because people have come and go. And some people go because the opportunity to make real change is just not there. Others go because they really weren't in it for the long haul. They really, let's just be honest, a lot of people I don't think we're in the same generation, but a lot of people under 45, we can be flaky. We can be on fire for a minute or a year or a month or whatever, or one event. And then when we have to see the tedious work that goes into things and actually be bridge builders and compromise and include everybody, we're not down for it unless they can be just like. So sometimes I tell us younger ones, we can be just as stubborn as older ones because we want things our way too. And
oftentimes we want them, or I can say but we want them now.
And
right.
Yeah, that's the thing with the younger generation. We're in a world where everything is now.
Right now.
So when you join these organizations or you start your own organization and you don't see change happen right now, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm done. Throwing the towel in. But change is never right now. But that's the world we live in. So
yeah, and nobody's ever gung ho like critical mass movement right away. And oftentimes when it is, it almost never lasts.
Right.
And so it's a slow and steady march that a lot of people aren't in for the long haul. One of the things that I used to bristle at, now I kind of sort of roll my eyes at when I am around my elders, and it's not because I disrespect my elders, but because I'm sort of tired of hearing the same phrase, and that is the young folk. Mm-hmm. And when you just hear that phrase, for better or for worse, some people say stuff like, I sat in a pastor's conference recently, and I heard a 70-year-old guy make a bad social media suggestion. He made a bad suggestion. Like, if you did your sermons like this on social media, and then it came out, the young folk will eat that up. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing any of that. You know, and his suggestion was like, put your sermon into 10-minute clips. I was like, 90 seconds. You know what I mean? I'm saying to myself, like, nah, doc. But like, then on the other side, it's the negative where they kind of group us all in together.
Right.
The young folk don't want nothing. The young folk don't pay for nothing. The young folk don't appreciate nothing. How do you feel, and what do you want to say sometimes? Let me just go ahead and get it out. Nobody watches this. What do you want to say sometimes when people say the young folk and you just kind of hear it going in that direction?
When they say, honestly, I'm kind of like you, I just want to roll my eyes like, well, you have a young person sitting right here. So obviously it's not all the young people. It's not all the young folks, but it also makes me want to say the older folk don't want to change either. Right. You don't want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. You want to sit there and keep taking control and not change anything, but times are changing. So old folk.
Yeah. It's definitely two sides to that. And I mean, again, there are things that become almost like triggers for us in conversation that make it hard to get past like these common like tropes, almost like stereotyping each other. You're just walking through these assumptions and then it'll be, well, you're the good one.
Right. I've heard that. So many times
You're the good one.
I've been in settings and they're like, young people, but you're different. Like, okay. Well,
you're different because you're here at this table right now with us.
But if you wasn't here, we would not be.
If you wasn't carrying
that.
these boxes and volunteering to do this stuff, you'd be like the rest of them ungrateful people.
Biblically speaking, the Bible talks about don't, mix the new wine with the old wineskins. And we use that often in church.
Right.
But the Bible never says to throw away the old wineskins either.
Right.
So how would you suggest that we bridge that gap, the gap with the younger and the older? And I mean, is it as easy as what you said of just sticking it out, sticking and staying, or because I mean, we have a wide variety of young people who are just not interested, whether it's in voting, whether it's in church, activism, any of these things. What would you say to a young person to try to get them involved?
If they are trying to get involved with some of the groups that's been around for years, I would say yes, sticking it out is going to be key. There's going to be a lot of times where you just want to literally just say, you know what, I've had it, I'm fed up, but you have to stick it out. And I think also with the older generation people, they need to start guiding us more than just saying that we did this, we did that. Well, how did you do it? Why did you do it this way? How can we change? Keep your ideal, but make it more modern, make it more up to date. I found that me being a younger person, I haven't necessarily, when it comes to certain things, I'm not really guided by it. It's just like, shut it down. We've done it like this for 30 years, no changing, period.
Right.
So it's really just, but you, like I said, just have to stick it out. That's really, I think, the only way to get to them is for them to realize you're going to be here. Without that, they're going to just kind of shoot you off.
One thing about the guiding, which I appreciate, and I have had some healthy relationships with older individuals who I respect very much, who have become like, surrogate, extra grandparents. I mean, you just get close to them like that. But sometimes it's not something that can possibly evolve because circumstance just jolted us into another place. And like pandemic is a perfect example of that. There was no evolving when the whole world shut down.
Right.
It's either you go virtual or you don't exist.
Right.
Period. And so I think that the world outside of a global pandemic is still in that mode sometimes where there are certain shifts happening where we don't have time to get there in 5 years or 8 years. And sometimes we're not willing to acknowledge, or perfect example, what we're dealing with in our own city and probably cities around the country of like funding's available and it's only gonna be available, you gotta get your plan together, and you're like trying to tell people, no, you need to move right now. You really need to jump right at this moment and follow the person or persons who can get you to that promised land. And obviously we've seen some failure and some hesitation and missed opportunities because of our inability to pivot quickly. And the world around us is exposing that more and more. And my fear is that Black and minority populations will suffer the most because we've always been historically behind the times anyway. And so when you're in times where technology and the way things are done, the way things are organized, the way things are planned, the tools you use, the way things are funded. I mean, look at our churches, Jeff. We used to fund whole building projects off of dinners and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that are winning right now are the ones doing virtual campaigns and strategic partnerships and sponsorship arrangements and all these other things that our elders are like, I never did it like that before. You want me to put this logo on here? I'm like, yes, they about to drop you a $10,000 check. You absolutely should put your logo on here. But they don't get that. You know, even the design, and no shade to some of our organizations, but there have been times where we created more modern design. It could be as simple as a program book. And they be like, I don't like that. Give me the Windows 95 joint with like the word art and the clip art and the old picture in a box of the guest speaker. And I'm like, yo, I wish you could see in contrast to how the rest of the world is moving, how even your design and presentation is outdated. You know, when I go to an event, especially an indoor event or something, and they're like I have screens. They're like, y'all want to get a banner? And I'm like, for what? Why are we buying banners? Why are we buying banners? Like, you know, like I got this mega screen here, all your logos, all your video, you know, whatever you want to say, your sponsors, whatever, that's where it should be. But they can't grasp that.
I mean, when you're dealing with 70, 80 plus, I mean,
you know, you're getting kicked out of all these organizations. telling you right now.
Oh, no, I love all my organizations. They're doing great. No, but
what's funny is, you know, the other day I called, you know, I use Moriah a lot now,
right,
you know, with action. So I texted her the other day and you know, we're having an event coming up and I'm like, blase, blase, blase. I was like, what do you think about this honestly? You know, and she was honest.
She was honest?
That's whack.
But you need that.
Right. And so we going back and forth. And so basically we came with part of mine, part of hers. She made two things and I'm like, cool. You know, I'm like, I know mine going to win out. So I send them both to Elder Carter. And Elder Carter was like, I like the second one. I was
right. I've been in the uncomfortable position of what you just said, compromising with, well, yeah, we like some of your idea, but we're still going to implement ours,
right,
like on the older traditional or comfortable side. And like two things like go through my mind, or one of two things. It's kind of like, first of all, your idea still sucks. And it's ruining the good part that I'm like sometimes you feel like selfish, but okay, let me be honest like this. This is what we're not allowed to say, and that's why we're religiously incorrect.
Right.
Sometimes you know that your approach is the 100% right approach. But you can't say it because everyone's like, well, it's got to be cooperation and collaborative. And I'm like, but you're part of the collaboration.
It's garbage.
Like, it's just not effective. And it's like, that won't work for this. And, you know, it becomes, you just want to run everything, or you want to control it. You didn't know it. Obviously, I know all about that. You know, that kind of dynamic. But sometimes you're like, what do you do when you do know and you have the right answer and you're surrounded by people who are still committed to a different answer?
What do? I just throw my hands up and say, okay. It's like I'm not gonna try to force it because
I'd be like, take my name off.
What I hate honestly is
when
I've tried to like bring something to a certain table and I'm trying to say, you know, I know for a fact that this is gonna be good for us, this is gonna be better, and I'm getting a lot of like no's and it's just combative. It's just like, okay,
yeah,
you know, like what? Yeah. I'm not gonna force it because then I get called this, you know, I've called it disrespectful. I'm like, it's not disrespectful for me to say that we would be better off doing it this way instead of that way.
Yeah, and that's true, because you know that I think that is the kryptonite. That is like the secret move of older generations. If they pull that D word out,
listen,
disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah. Disrespectful, because like you can't push your point beyond whatever line they set, even if it's a completely ridiculous kind of a line. Where I know how to shut this down. I'll just call you disrespectful.
Right.
You know, you're not honoring me.
Scott got a great question. I'm gonna have you read it because I'll cough halfway through it.
Scott wrote, do you find the younger generations are often better suited at spending, planning events, and the older generations are better at funding, executing events. Well, as a pastor, I will say yes. Because in most of our organizations, religious, nonprofit community, the bulk of the money is coming from older people. If there's donations or tickets to be bought, if you've been to any banquet, a concert, or just have a campaign, pledges, whatever, the bulk of your money, unless you live in a very successful metropolitan area where there's a bunch of young, educated professionals, degreed, good money, in most of our regular towns and cities, older ones are funding this. And I do encourage our younger ones to realize that.
Right.
And
a lot of us won't go to these banquets, but all you got to do is go to the Action Banquet, go to the Achievers Banquet, go to the ARA.
You want to know where the money's at? That's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
All the people just paid $50, $60 tickets to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at no shade to my younger ones, but y'all at Taco Bell putting some quarters together after church. So what do you see in that? Like the planning versus the funding?
I do think I agree with you as far as the older generation and funding. But as far as like executing the event, I would say the younger generation is better at executing the events at this point.
Now, when you talk about execution and planning, one thing that we've run into, and maybe you have too, is because we're younger, we often have more interruptions to our participation. Mm-hmm. Because, I'll be at the meeting, oh man, my kid got sick.
Right.
I'll see y'all there at 3. Oh man, my spouse, my partner worked over. I got to watch the, house until they get back, And so that becomes like a wild card for the older ones because they have the time.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
To be there.
But they don't feel like it sometimes.
So they be busy too.
I'm not saying they're busy. I don't think they feel like it, literally.
Oh, they be like, Steve Harvey coming on. I ain't got time to sit here all day. Steve is coming on. My CSI about to be on. But I think that plays into the funding versus spending. And I've had that conversation. I've talked with young musicians, people that do events and stuff like that. You do have to mind your demographic. And I always tell the story about my band director when we were at Harding. And I was a drummer in the Stomp the Yard, what was the other one? Drumline generation. And we all wanted to be HBCUs. And we wanted to just go in. Straight, all the beats, And the band director said, you see those 50 people on the 50-yard line, all them old white dudes? They're the ones that buy your uniforms. Get out there and play the Star Spangled Banner. And you know what I mean? Because if you go too far in a direction away from anything they actually prefer, those checks are going to dry up. And so you could be the hottest, brokest band in town.
So basically, shut up and play basketball.
Shut up and play basketball.
That's what it comes
Right. Scott just said when you put up the money, it goes unsaid that you want a say in the spending.
It's definitely said.
It's said, but I think you have a great idea when you put up the moniker or the logo. That's what you get for your money.
Yeah,
you don't get necessarily a say-so in the event.
Right.
And I think we need to understand that. You put your ad in a little booklet, and that's what you get for that money that you put in.
But can we be honest though? When the older generation says to us, "But y'all don't pay for nothing," they're not wrong. Because we don't.
No, they're not wrong.
We don't. And I have evidence from many local promoters and planners and producers. I had a brother, and it might be slightly different, but he told me that in the Youngstown Amp, one event was profitable that was black focused, and that's because a bunch of white folk bought tickets. I think it was the Nelly concert.
Yeah.
All these hip hop concerts, all this black stuff, including down here in our own summer series, whatever you want to call it. We think it's racist. It's black and white. And the promoter's like, no, it's green.
Right.
I brought the black band. And the same black people who were screaming and carrying on about there needs to be more balance in what you present. And numbers just are numbers. If we live in an area that's 70, 80% white or whatever, and 20, 25% black, it's just not going to be there. But even in our own community, we say we want this. But are we really willing to pay for it? I've gone through this whole, hey, y'all, what the gospel artists y'all want to see next? And somebody just gives me their favorite gospel artist.
Right.
But is it anybody else's? And would you pay for it when everybody else is at a free festival, or you can watch it on YouTube, or you just sit at home and wait for somebody to go live? So the older ones...
let's just be honest. I've been to your concerts at the Amp when we done, and, the parking lot across the street might be packed, but that's about it. You know, you see the Michael Jackson lookalike.
Bruh.
It's cars all around
Man, they part
the
of
whole.
They bringing in bike from Warren Township.
And I'm like, why is this? These aren't even real people. Michael Jackson dead.
And they killed the impersonators too.
Todd is bringing it. I mean, for real.
They killed the impersonator out. They so committed to killing Mike. They're so committed to killing Mike that they killed the impersonator too. They said, ain't none of y'all gonna get moonwalk. Ain't gonna be no moonwalking on this earth.
No Billie Jean. No
Billie Jean. Man, I'm praying for all our young brothers out there doing spins and stuff, man.
And then not only that, but you know, we get this new what's the thing downtown they made?
Theater? Oh no.
No, what's the they redone
The Robins.
Yeah, Robins. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
She
you.
had it right.
I think she said
She had it
yeah,
right.
Robins. Packed.
All the time.
Every
All the
time they
time.
have something.
Right.
You done a movie.
Oh man, listen, we were there by ourselves. Bruh, that was the most embarrassing. We rented out a whole theater to try to show classic black movies. And we was literally in there by ourselves. And then, this what made it worse. I did The Last Dragon. And I wanted to show it on the big screen, The Last Dragon. I wanted to be like an 80s party night. So we had like speakers playing 80s music. Nobody, when I say nobody, I mean Ethan's like running up and down the aisle the whole time. And then I bought like 5,000 fortune cookies. And I had this box of fortune cookies in my garage for like a year, and I would like take a few out every day. And I'm like, this is the best idea. And nobody.
Try it again.
I'm not trying it
If
again.
at first you don't succeed,
Next time I try it again,
We can't
try it again. Because we put some money into that. And we barely broke even. And I'm saying that, man, next time I do this, I'm putting like a screen outside of my yard and charging y'all. Because I rented a whole theater out. And man, I'm telling you, I was right there with the old people like, man, these niggas ain't nothing. Man. Get them, man. But so when we get mad and say, man, Confunction again, guess what? The Confunction crowd gonna be there.
Right.
they were.
They were gonna show up. You know, I mean, we had somebody, was it Michelle Lee or somebody? They brought some C-level female artist when I was young. And not only did we not come out and support her, and she was on the square, they did not come out and support her, but as soon as her first song started, the fight started.
See, yeah.
I'll never forget that. That had to be like almost 15, 20 years ago.
Well, do you remember when they brought, what's the lady who passed away, the prophet that passed away? Prophet lady. But they brought her to Packard.
Okay.
And she got so mad. She basically said she cursed Warren.
She cursed Warren. Hey, I think God already beat you to it. I don't think Warren needs to be cursed. I don't think Warren needs to be cursed any more than it already was at the time. But we're blessed now because I'm on council. So Leah said she went. Marvin's loved it. He loved Confunction.
I think she's talking about the movies.
Oh yeah, you did. You did come. I thank you for your support, Leah.
Did you eat a fortune cookie?
It was about you and 5 other people, man. It was bad, man.
I had to work that.
Man, we need to let him off camera, man.
I'm killing myself.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Myself to be on religiously.
Is it incorrect?
Dedication.
You ate the fisherman's friend out. You gotta get him.
I tell you.
So, like, what's on the horizon then? Like, where do you see this going? I mean, one of my fears is that this generation we complain about, the older elders, and we're like, oh, they're in the way, da-da-da-da. But if they're not there, and I'm seeing it as a church, and we have a generation that does not want to put in the long-term tedious work sometimes, but we want it all to be there. And I'll give you an example. Like funerals are a perfect example. Like many of our generation, like, man, forget the church, da-da-da-da. Religion's not for me. So who's going to usher 10 years from now when many of my elders have stepped aside? And that's what we did. We coalesced around. We tried to help when we could. So if you don't have that service mentality, who's going to do the hard work of getting the licenses and the preparations for a festival and da-da-da-da? Like, where do you see this going if we don't step up as a younger generation and, like you said, walk beside and take the baton when they're ready to pass it or when it's passed? I mean, what could be the good or the negatives of that situation, do you think?
I think one of the negatives is that a lot of people, younger people say, they'll wait till they move out.
They'll wait.
But what they don't realize, we need them. They have the knowledge, they have the wisdom.
Correct.
They still know how things operate.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest, I would say would be the biggest fear, is that it won't sustain if we take over once they're gone and we're starting from scratch. You don't have to start from scratch to make change.
Right.
You don't have to reinvent the whole entire wheel.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest negatives. I mean, on the positive side, I do think it can continue. I think that there are a lot of younger people and a lot of people in this community who do want to step up. So I think it will continue. I just think that they're going to cause more work for themselves by not wanting to do it now and have to deal with the older generation.
I can agree with that. I think that this thing about every generation has to start over, sometimes it's not because the generation before didn't leave anything. It's because we weren't around to receive it.
Absolutely.
And now we are starting over again. And I think that's a problem for us that we have to acknowledge sometimes. Like, they are trying to leave us something. I remember when Mr. Sonny went in on me, Mr. Morgan went in on me at that debate. And he got up at the end and was just like, yeah, Pastor Todd said, you know. But it was funny because he was talking about how I was so hype on technology. And he was like, but when it came time for him to run, he was like, Mr. Morgan, let's go walking. You know, after I had done all this talk about Facebook. And obviously my point was not like, well, just don't ever do that. But I was saying to reach my people in my age bracket, I'm probably not going to answer the door. My best reach is probably Facebook, but you still need to get to the people who actually vote, who are probably going to answer the door, you know, or answer the phone. But there has to be some balance there, like not either or, but both and.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that we have to be catalysts of that. And I've been that person. I was young, restless, reckless, and sometimes disrespectful. Frustrated because I felt like things weren't moving fast enough or we weren't being loud enough. And I was just telling Pastor Floyd that I said, there are certainly things that I regret. Or even if I don't regret, I wouldn't repeat knowing what I know now and knowing where I am now. That, yeah, there might be value to be that young, brash voice, but there's a limit to it because you might end up alienating the people that you love and that love you because they're not moving fast enough for you, you know. And that's something we have to kind of tightrope a little bit, you know. And I don't know, Pastor Jeff, you have that same kind of situation.
You know, and I was just thinking, you know, along with you, both of you all said, how many churches now have what we used to have called junior usher boards?
Right.
How many churches, you know, and I know at one time we would do the youth Sunday, and but, you know, I think we need to allow the youth to work you know, because there is going to come a time where this older generation, and a lot of them won't even die off. A lot of them just can't come anymore.
Can't do it. Right.
They're just bedridden or at home or just not ready to do it. So, you know, I mean, listen, these cats don't know how to put their arm behind their back for 2 hours.
Right.
You know, that takes some skill.
Gotta get some surgery to do that after a while. Tie that sucker back, train you. No, you're absolutely right. So I mean,
having your daughter work on sound is phenomenal to me.
Right.
Having your, you know.
She has no choice. I mean, but yeah, okay.
But I mean, we didn't have a choice back then.
Exactly.
We didn't have a choice when church.
And that goes back to Moriah being involved. Moriah is filling in a gap by choice that I am certain when these organizations, and go back to Achievers, when Van Williams first began that with Ms. Corolla, I'm sure they were recruiting out of their churches and different youth organizations like, hey, y'all just gonna be down here and y'all going X, Y, Z and da-da-da-da. And that's another part, not to sound like old fogies, but when you get into that choice thing and a lot of younger parents not really making their kids be available to the older generation, to be those mules, so to speak, like, hey, carry these boxes, drag that ice, do this, do that. Now you are leaving a whole lot for these older ones to do while our kids are sitting at home playing video games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these kids have too much of a choice.
But let's just be honest. She is definitely doing it by choice, but she came from a family. The Butlers were a family.
Correct.
Of, you know, and it just goes back to,
doing that work.
You know, raise a child in the way that it should go. When it's older, it would not depart from it. So she it's in her blood.
Right.
It's definitely in her blood.
Right.
So
talk to us about your particular endeavors with One. What would you like to see happen with the ongoing neighborhood empowerment nonprofit? And do you have any ideas for this year or going forward that you kind of would like to see come to fruition?
Yeah. So For my my ultimate goal is obviously to continue to empower the community in different ways. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues that you can take for it. Right now, my endeavor for this year, I'm working on trying to get in with the schools for teachers and supplies and stuff. You know, school drives are great, but I want it to be ongoing through the whole entire year.
Okay.
So my ultimate goal is to eventually have a community center, and not a community center in the way of gyms. Oh, of course, a gym, but gyms, sports, not just sports. I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that everybody talks about is athletics. But there's so much more that these kids can get into. I mean, we have STEM. We don't have a lot of kids getting into that stuff. So that would be my ultimate goal, and to be able to hold these seminars, do the credit building like what you did.
Workshops, right.
Yeah, workshops, absolutely. It's just very small little things that I feel like our kids are missing that will get them to the next level. Like, it's just the smallest stuff. So that would be like my ultimate goal.
Now, I think a criticism of nonprofits in general is some people say, number one, you don't need any more nonprofits. What you should do is just find somebody doing it and join up and be, a help to them. Mm-hmm. And no matter what you say, I'm sure there's somebody that raise their hand and say, I was already trying to do that. I was already doing that. Look at the event. I mean, this last homeowners workshop I just did, somebody almost immediately was like, I did one 3 years ago. And I'm like, okay. Right. I mean, but I don't even understand the point. And then I actually realized without saying anything publicly, I had done one like 8 years before that. So I wasn't going to play like tit for tat, but what do you say to the criticism that we don't need any more nonprofits? This is kind of muddying up the waters or diluting our potential.
I think that's false, because you can never have too many of, like how you just said, the workshop for credit and home buying. You can never have too many of those. Right. It's like there's the population in Warren is large enough where you can have several of the same workshop. Right. And I mean, it's going to reach to different people, different time. I don't agree with that. What I do think, though, is more than saying that we don't need any more nonprofits, I wish that the people who do have nonprofits would be willing to team up together. I mean, there's power in numbers. It really is. And I just feel like a lot of people just want to be the spotlight person. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things that grinds my gears. It's like, if it's, excuse me, if it's 10 of us who literally all want to do the same thing, we can come together. We can do it at different times, but we need to come together and make this a community thing instead of like pretty much trying to battle against each other for who can do it bigger, who can do it better. And that's what I really
That's
don't
what
like.
I wanted to get at. And two things that I've noticed and has become a hallmark, I think, of our generation is using nonprofits as like a career and a wealth building. Because, I mean, people are literally out here, get that money. You can pay yourself and you can work your salary into that grant and blah, 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 blah.
So much harder than that for one.
More, yeah, right. And literally, there's a lot of people, honestly, that are, doing some bogus stuff to be able to live off of what they claim is helping the community. And that's a whole nother story. But secondly, and I've seen this in church, and I have seen it and continue to see it, is that nothing seems to drive us more where we hope it would be the passion for the community, but it's really either showing somebody up, proving somebody else wrong, or if there's some sort of split, you know what I mean? I've watched people leave a church and work harder to try to create a new church than they ever would have in the church that they were at on their happiest day.
Come on, sir.
Because for some reason, like you said, when you become that, and then you make a public declaration, now you got to stick by it. Mm-hmm. When I do it, I'm going to do it right. It's going to be bigger, better, blah, 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 blah. And then, that's what's fueling this. And you can say it's all about the community, the kids. I don't care what demographic you're talking about, our black folk, church folk, whatever. But at the end of the day, it seems like the real fuel was, I want to show up somebody else, prove that I wasn't wrong for doing this. And sometimes it can go on forever and you actually are successful, but that doesn't change the motivation.
That's right.
That doesn't change what the intention was. And I feel like nothing seems to motivate us better than putting ourselves in this toxic underdog mentality that we almost created for ourselves. Like, nobody wanted us to succeed. Nobody wanted us to, I'm going to do it. Like, no, you literally created a bunch of haters and enemies that don't exist.
That's right.
So that you can say you're defeating them.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, how do we fight that? Is it possible, or at least neutralize that to where that doesn't become the driving force that, you know, it ends up dividing people. It ends up people choose camps. People that should be working together are not.
Right.
Because once you start throwing this stuff out there, you can't come back to the table.
You can.
After I said, I'm going to do better than Moriah, and then somebody says, why won't you and Moriah work together? I'm like, well, I told like 20 people that I was better than her. And so,
So now I got to move forward.
right. Now
Yeah.
I got to go forward. And so that's my issue. What are your thoughts on that kind of mentality?
I mean, that mentality is just very toxic. I don't know how you can just change people's mentality with that. I really don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, what do you think? How do you change that mentality in people? Because I don't personally have that mentality. I don't know why people think that everybody is jealous or they're hating or you wish you could do this or no, I can do it. I don't wish I could do it and I support you.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to.
That's good.
So I don't know where that comes from. It's like, I think social media plays a large part in that because you had people under the post like, oh, you know, you're doing so great and blah, blah, blah. And then it could be 5 minutes later, I say I'm doing this the same type of thing and like 0 comments.
Right.
So like, if I was that type of person, I might say, well, now I got to go make sure it's better than this person who got 100 comments because I got 0 comments because I'm not the, you know, popular one or whatever the case may be. So I don't know how you could really change that mentality.
It's almost like clickbait in a way because I've done it, to be honest. Like, sincerely wanting to, but not really having a plan. Yeah. I'm like, man, somebody needs to get these kids together at X, Y, D. I'm like, that's right, Pastor. I'm 100%. I'm like, I have no plan, literally no strategy, no money, no nothing. But boy, everybody gonna think for the next week that I really had something together.
Right.
And then there's the idea, like you said, different people doing the same thing, that because you're doing something similar, you're competing with me. It's a competition. You jumped out there solely to steal my idea or compete with me. And like, I don't know what kind of small world we live in. Like you said, maybe social media does have a lot to do with that because it feels like in the same way we try to put our best face on personally, filter our image, you know, the selfie, the profile pic, whatever. I feel like we do the same thing with our endeavors. I've done it. Other people have done it. You know, if I want everyone to see something, if I had a good crowd, you're going to see crowd shots.
Right. Yep. Always.
If I didn't have a good crowd, you're going to see a picture of me and Jeff hugging, holding a bag, talking about we had a great time tonight at the fundraiser. I'm saying I've been there. When the church was full, I was like, yo, we up in here. When the church is empty, I was like, just look at the preacher, y'all. Don't show nothing else.
You know, it's funny. When Moriah, myself, Carl, and Glenn, well, I don't think Glenn was there, but we went to a Wing Foundation thing the other day. And while I was there was a young lady talking about her mentorship program. And I went over to her. I said, you know, we're starting up Rope again. You know, we love to, it's easy for me to say, you're doing this, I'm doing this, let's work it together. Right. Then there's another guy talking to him, same place. And he said, you know, and I was saying, you know, basically what we got for action. He's saying, well, I've been doing this and I ain't got nothing in the last 4 years. I said, well, come, you know, let's have a one-on-one. Let's talk about it. Let me see how I can you can reword what you're doing. Right. So that we can get you some finances and some things to do that. So just as we get ready to close, I just want to give Moriah a lot of the credit. You know, she is actually putting together the Rope program right now. Love it. Which we're, you know, trying to start up a mentorship program for the kids.
I'll say it. You don't know nothing about raising no boy? No, I'm joking. just got to say it because there's a hotep out there waiting to say it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what?
And then also, she's putting together, once again, where action is going to be part of the Black Fest. I hate to call it Black Fest, but that's what everybody call it anyway.
Blackety Black Fest.
The Black Fest. And we're going to be giving away, you know what coupons we're giving away?
I don't know how many we're giving away, but the food vouchers, $25 food vouchers.
We're giving away $25 food vouchers to everybody who come down. And I'm not bragging on action, but I just thank God that we have somebody like Moriah who's out there doing the work. And, you know, we don't have to, you know, I don't have to look over my back and ask what she's doing. She's already doing it. She's helping, as we're getting this new truck ready for Warren, Ohio, she's going to be over that. She's going to be over the places that the truck goes. So if y'all know a place and you out there listening right now,
My house. Bring it to my house.
as long as you pay.
Right.
We got
Right.
you. So we are so thankful for what you're doing.
Leah had a good comment when she said there are a lot of people who have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the same mentalities that create problems. And that is a truism.
Ooh.
In other words, you are presenting yourself as a solution while you are also the source of the problem, meaning that you are either directly involved or perhaps enabling the exact things that you claim you want to clean up. Like, yo, we need to stop the violence, y'all, but you won't talk to your cousin or turn him in because you know he shot 3 people.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not saying snitch, but I'm kind of am saying be the example.
Right.
Because literally that's what stop the violence is when people who you are close to you know that you will not protect them anymore or turn a blind eye anymore to behaviors that you know are detrimental. And it always comes back around. But I agree with that there is some mentalities, but also good people. I want to say just from a counsel's perspective, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds with this, but I think this applies to the religious community, public service, and even some of us who serve, particularly in the Black community. There's this feeling that we want everyone to feel valued and we want everyone to feel important. We don't want anyone to be embarrassed or to be told that, we don't support you, because we have like this personal affection. We all feel like our backs are up against the wall. The man is out to get us. And if we don't support us, who will? But what problems come in is when we consider who's valuable with what's viable. Like, you are a valued person. Your idea is probably not going to work. And so instead of us wasting everything from our energy to our attention, even our vocalizations, because you can only give your verbal support to so many things before people start tuning you out. Right. And so if you've given your verbal support to like 75 different things, and we've all sat at a table where somebody gives an absolutely totally whack idea. And instead of just saying, nah, that's not cool, we be like, well, maybe. And that maybe just opens up a whole door to a bad path. And at public service, for instance, I hate to say it because we're in this mode right now and there is some contention, but those of us who fund things have to be willing to say there are some who are worthy, there are some who are not. There are some things that make sense strategically in the big picture, and in a perfect world, all this could fit. But even if we have all the money in the world, everyone shouldn't get all the money in the world because it's going to go in 30 different directions. And everyone's going to be pulling at the same thing, same people. There's only so many volunteers, so many constituents, so many residents, so many elderly, so many youth, so much food. How many food trucks do we really need in Warren? Let's just say 3 more organizations pop up and say, I want, okay. So I just feel like we have to be honest about it. And those of us in power, which I respect some of those larger grant organizations that are like, not this year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And we don't do that, though, unfortunately, even though we ain't got a dime to give nobody. We give them the credence to make them think. And then they do walk into that organization saying, 50 people support me, but 50 people ain't got a dime to give you, but you take those 50 people support and you go to Ween, you go to the banks, you go to these private and public grant making the state, the federal government, and now you've got all these voices behind something that's not really viable.
And I agree. There ought to be a lot more no's.
A lot more no's.
It's just a simple. Pastor Todd and I was at a meeting one day, and the guy was, I'm not going to say no names, but they were saying, well, yeah, we going to do some more prayer rallies downtown. And I'm like, why? Ain't nobody getting shot downtown.
There it is.
And I just, I'm not trying to be rude, but nobody's getting, so why are we going downtown?
Right.
Ain't nobody getting shot down there. Let's go where the shootings
are happening. And do more than pray when we get there.
Amen.
By the way.
No, everybody has good ideas, but definitely
I'm going to correct you. Everybody does not have good ideas. Some ideas are terrible.
Okay, I mean, everybody doesn't have good ideas, but to them it's good.
To them it's good.
But I don't know if it's okay to say this, but some ideas that are being agreed to be funded is just like, it's beyond me. It's literally mind blowing.
Beyond a lot of us. It's beyond a lot of us.
I can't even believe this is an option, honestly.
There have been more, and it's not the first time. I think this is the first time that we're seeing it like really locally in front of our face. Yeah. But there have been times when I've seen announcements from large organizations. They're like, I'm like, how did you get through to them? Like, who do you know that got through to that bank CEO or whatever?
Right.
Because I could have told you if you would have came down. And honestly, sometimes the people with the money in their pockets are detached and they have an agenda and want to look good.
That's right.
And it's whoever gets to them first with a good story. Mm-hmm. Whoever gets to them first. And all you need is poor black people and shootings and violence and drugs and say mental health. That's the new one. Mental health. And it just throw it, it's raining money all of a sudden. But those of us who know. But
here's the thing, though. Even with that, one of the things that scare me is because it's the popular thing, people are now making up organizations.
Oh yeah, they're chasing the funds.
Yeah, because
they're writing. They're writing grants to the funds.
You could care less about mental health. You just want the money.
Just like nobody cared about. Nobody cared about the environment, and in the black community. Nobody cared about the environment until the EPA started giving away all this money and all these organizations. We're just now wrestling with mental health, but then we've turned it into a game in a way. Leah calls it poverty pimping. That's her favorite phrase. Poverty pimping, and it is true. And we're sliding out of here, y'all. But I mean, that's what I think. Like, we have to be willing to say no more. Those of us in positions of power, if you want to call it that, or at least access to direct the way things go, have to be more discerning and brave. And I forget who I said it to or how I said it, but I said we are more critical about who our church organist would be and whether or not, a singer can sing or whatever, than far more important decisions that affect our community.
Absolutely.
Somebody in my church will come up to me and be like, CJ ain't hitting. CJ been whacked, man. I mean, he just been hitting the wrong notes. I mean, CJ was just off, like, All right.
Definitely ain't no Anthony Riddle.
Edit. But what I'm saying is literally things that are really not important. Right. Like, who's the guy that's playing the piano on Sunday? We will be ultra critical about that and be willing to cut them off, walk into a meeting and say, you should stop paying him, you should fire him. But we won't say to a person that is not doing a good job in our community, you know what, we need to kind of pull back on that support and stop throwing money and support at them. We won't say that, even though that is probably having a far more detrimental effect on our community.
Yes.
And you can be trying to do a good thing and actually hurting us.
Absolutely.
Period. And so I think we have to be cognizant, like you said, it's a good idea to them. But that's where checks and balances come in.
Right.
And maybe even a more corporate mentality that is a little bit dog eat dog. And I'm not saying some folk might not break through and get rejected 2 or 3 times and make it through. God bless you if you do.
And not only check and balance, but a healthy board.
Right.
A healthy board that says you may be the president, you may be the executive director,
right,
but we have a say-so in what's going on.
Hey, I got an idea. Stop putting people on boards and they don't even know they're on the board. Because I just showed up on a couple pieces of paper, or they use somebody like, yo, we got Reverend Johnson on board, and they ain't even called me yet. And so then the other person thinks that I'm on board.
Right.
So they get on board. And then I'm like, yo, I didn't even know this existed. What is this? I literally had a meeting, like, a guy was like, yeah, you involved. I'm like, no, I'm not. What is this? But, there's a lot of checks and balances that we have to do, and I appreciate Moriah. Keep that fight. I hope you inspire more. And we really do have to stay involved. We say that from a ministry standpoint. We're where we are because we do see value in it. We do see value in the people, the ministries, and we know that we can play a part in bringing people together to build a brighter future. If it wasn't for all of these solid, long time, giving, praying, serving members I have right now, I would not be baptized in the young adults that I am right now. This is not something I walked in the door, preached the world's greatest message in a empty yard, and just built all this from scratch. I'm just another link in this chain.
Yes.
And they, by not only financial support, but also sometimes gracious, sort of obliging my ideas and my approach, like, all right, we ain't gonna put them out just yet. We're gonna see where this goes. Like, that's what allows a Moriah to come through and say, okay, I feel kind of comfortable here.
Right.
Or younger people. So I feel like there has to be a bridging that exists.
Wonderful.
Moriah, tell us, if you could do any one big thing, you mentioned the community center, but if you could do one big dream for Warren, what would it be?
Wow. I think I'm going to stick with saying that. Like, right now, right today, it would be a community center.
That resource
and
center.
like I said, Yes, Resource Center.
I have a proposal to show you.
Oh, okay. I
See?
couldn't see
It's
it.
about to happen. Right.
So, no, that would definitely be
See,
it.
come on, religiously incorrect, and your dreams come true.
Dreams come true.
Y'all hear that? They granted me my wish. Right
Bring
now.
that check out here right now. It's your lucky day. You know. But I love that because, and what you said, and I know Leah applauded it. More than sports, building up our people financially, mentally, emotionally. Skills and all. And I think that's going to be a key to moving forward. So, Pastor Jeff, any last words?
Man, just a great show, man. Thank
Great
you
show.
so much for coming on, and let's keep up the work.
I love it.
I thank you guys for having me. Is this my official invite back?
This is your official invite back.
Absolutely.
That's it. We're going to have you back on. Hey, you
Mike,
guys.
anything? Mike,
Yeah,
anything?
Big Mike, what you want to say? Testify, brother.
Oh, great show. Moriah, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom, your dreams, your aspirations, and things like that. And yes, you are definitely welcome back to Religiously Incorrect. And just for the record, I was on the first committee for the Achievers Association.
He was.
With Van Williams.
Wow.
He's an OG.
Yes, the very first one. I went to Niles. It was kind of funny. I went to Niles, we sit there in class, and he called all the black people down to class. There was only like 6 of us. And I'm like, why are they calling us down? And, it was Van. He presented what he was trying to do, and I actually joined. I had a real good time. I did it for about 2 years. Then they kicked me out because I started dating white women. But
You ain't down for the cause. That's hilarious. You out, brother. Hey, with that, make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere you listen to your audio podcast. Religiously Incorrect is where it goes down for real. Don't be like Mike. Don't get kicked out of Religiously Incorrect because you're doing it. Hey, Will, what's happening, cuz? Good
Hey,
to see you and
Willie.
hear from you. Hey, that's right, Sonya. I believe I belong and I am beloved. Listen, until next time, be sure to like, share, and check into it. Take care. Peace out.
Peace.